Welcome to the Crew webcast. My name is Marcy Teeger with Symphony Advisors, and on behalf of my partners, Vince Romans of the Romans Group, Eric Bickett of Fix Auto, and Russ Thrall of Collision Week, our exclusive media sponsor, we're pleased to have you here today. Our topic today is a look at the technical schools, and in particular to the technical school instructors. Now, you probably know that we have devoted a lot of attention to this topic, but today we really wanted to look at it from the perspective of the teachers that are helping to create the next generation of collision repair professionals. We're going to look at some of the challenges that they face and their successes, and what we may be able to do as an industry to help assist them to create this next generation. But before we start, we'd like to thank our sponsors, and they are Platinum sponsors Allstate, Exalta, Enterprise, and PPG. Our gold sponsors LKQ and Mitchell. Silver sponsors CGI, Syncast, FinishMaster, Focus Investments, Boyd Gerber, Service King, and Verifax. Sponsors, thank you so much. So let me go ahead and hand it over to my partner for the day, Vince Roman.
Thanks, Marcy. And let me introduce our participants today. We have Clint Campbell from the Texas State Technical College, Billy Honeycutt from the Stanley Community College, and Carlos Ojeda from Eastfield College. Guys, can you give us a little background about yourself?
Good morning. I'm Clint Campbell. I'm an instructor at Texas State Technical College in Waco. I started teaching in 2002, became department chair about 2 years ago of our program. I'm an ex-graduate of Texas State Technical College, entered the workforce in about 1998 and worked in several dealership and independent shops in the meantime until I became an instructor.
Great, thank you. Billy?
I'm with Stanley Community College in Albemarle, North Carolina, and I'm the program director of the automotive training in our school. I actually took the class in 1977 after graduating high school, and from that point on I got into the industry, both as manager at dealerships, manager at independents, and eventually opening my own company in 1988. And I ended up leaving the industry and going to teaching in 2010. And it's just been a passion of mine ever since I was in school in '77. Just had a passion for teaching.
Great. Carlos?
I'm Carlos Ojeda with Eastfield College. We're part of the Dallas County Community College District. I've been in the industry since 17 years old in high school. I actually graduated from the program myself, came back as a lab assistant, worked for several independent body shops. Became full-time in 2000, and I'm also the coordinator of the program.
Great, great. So let me just start out with a broad question, and any of you guys can answer this. There's a critical shortage of technicians around the country, and you would think that schools would be swamped with students looking to join the industry. Why is this shortage? Why does this shortage exist, especially when there's such a critical need for technicians and training?
Well, I'd like to say I just left from a ICAR committee meeting, and that was one of the problems that we talked about. And it seems to be starting with the high schools. They're just not receiving the proper information to get to their students, and that's one of the issues that we're going to start to work on. They've always been trained to direct students to four-year colleges, and all of our students that we get are not four-year college material. Our guys like to have their hands-on. They're not into books like the four-year college students are. So it's just hard to get them out of the high schools because the high schools are not making them aware of us. And the industry isn't publicized and very popular like some of the other programs like computers or accountants or doctors or whatever. It's just not publicized.
Mm-hmm.
In Texas, they have started an individualized technical career path for high school students. if we could get shops to go with us to the high schools, present the programs to the students in the high school, it would help us recruit students into our program and into this field. When we go and we discuss our programs, it's hard to get a student interested in a manual labor field when you can't tell them you're going to start at this point and these are the obstacles you're going to have to jump through to reach a higher paying position. And that's what we could really use help with, from the industry while we recruit in the high school field. That way they can develop that individualized career path, attend college classes while attending high school, and graduate at an earlier pace and get into the job force.
Mm-hmm. Two things that I've seen, and our industry has grown so much in our area. I'm from the Dallas area, and the shops have just blown up. I mean, they're huge. There's a lot of body shops in the area. Therefore, it almost seems that the students, we can't keep up with the demand when the industry has been growing so much. The other thing is the students that are coming into the industry. Well, I'm going to go back, not the students, but the state there for a little while in Texas has cut back on a lot of the high school programs, being because of cost and whatnot, and they're eliminating, or there for some time they were eliminating hands-on type or job skill programs, and therefore when you don't have a program for those non-4-year students or non-traditional, they have nowhere to go, and therefore we're starting to see the effects of that, because now we can't fill those jobs that the industry has created, because the industry has grown so much.
I have a follow-up to that, because somebody just mentioned this to me yesterday, and that is that we already know about this 2-track. It's your 4-year or non-4-year, and that seems to be what the message is in the high schools. But somebody else told me that even within the technical environment, because you may, under the moniker of technical school, you might have people becoming, electricians, or they may become carpenters, that the starting pay in those other professions may be $20 an hour, as where the starting pay in our industry might be 12 or 13, even though in short order, when you get good, you can make a very good living in the body shop industry. Are you seeing that, so that even if you're in schools that have other trades, that they're going another direction because of the immediate gratification?
Yes, ma'am. We have a lineman's program on campus, and the lineman's program has probably tripled in the last year due to what they're going to get paid as soon as they graduate.
Those are people on the telephone pole?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Are you guys seeing that too?
Yes.
Yes, we are seeing it.
So part of it is not just am I going to 4-year, because I can tell you what my daughter who just graduated from 4-year school is making, and it's not nearly as good as a body man. So anyway, so that's another thing we need to be thinking about, is how do we message that you get good and you can make a very, very good living at it, or is the issue maybe trying to get the pay up a little bit higher at an entry level?
I think it's going to be a combination of both. Mm-hmm. We're going to have to probably get the pay up, but we also need to get the message out there. This is where you're going to start, and this is the path to get to the higher pay. Because there are some students going through that are going to be a helper position for an extended amount of time. And then there's other students that are going to go through and move up to be a technician at a very quickly or a very fast rate.
Yeah, I agree. And the counselors are realizing now that that this industry is paying pretty good money versus some of the others.
Yeah, you may top out in the ones that are starting out at $20 in short orders, where there's greater potential. Yeah.
So, Bill, I heard you say that ICAR realizes that they have to go into the high schools, and you just came from a meeting yesterday.
This morning.
Oh, this morning. Can you expand on that? That's a nice plan to have, to go into the high schools, but tell us tactically how that might happen around the country and a little more about it.
Well, the foundation is wanting to start put forth more of an effort to put out advertising or marketing, they call it, to expand the knowledge of the counselors in the schools, in the high schools. So they're offering huge amounts of support for the schools in order to get our message out to the counselors and the teachers of the high schools.
So when you say they are offering huge amounts of support, who do you mean? ICAR?
Yeah, the foundation.
The foundation. Will they have, so you said marketing, will they actually have feet on the street? Because colleges come into high schools and they try to convince students to go to that four-year school. They give scholarships. Will there be feet on the street
Yes.
in high schools around the country?
They're working with their individual committees for their area, and those committee members are now going out into the community and working with the colleges and schools.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Get them while they're young.
ICAR is a
and-
huge supporter. It would be tough for some of the schools to make it without them.
And so for the clarification of anybody who's listening, the ICAR is really, you're talking about the foundation arm of it,
Yes.
which is the Collision Repair Education Foundation.
Yes.
And when you talk about ICAR and the Collision Repair Education Foundation, we all feel like we're part of that because we're part of the industry. That said, for anybody who's listening in about what more can be done, whether you're a body shop, or a school counselor, you're going to be talking to the industry here today. What would you like people to do to help support this effort that you're seeing through the Ed Foundation? What more could a body shop maybe do to help educate people about this career path?
Well, that's a good question. It's a tough question. To getting them to participate is a problem. As you know, most shops are extremely busy. Shop owner's always busy. The manager's always busy. When you try to go into a shop and meet with them, they really don't have a lot of time to spare. So it's tough. It's hard. But I feel like that they're going to come around. They're going to have to come around.
On my side, if they could help us by joining our advisory committee, coming to 2 meetings a year to help us make sure our curriculum's on path, help develop career paths for students with us, and then if they could spare somebody from their business, an ex-graduate, a new hire, or somebody higher up to go to the hospitals maybe one time a year just to help us recruit would be a vast improvement of what we've had.
So for listeners, let's make sure we know what city you're in.
Waco, Texas.
Waco, Texas, and your school again?
Texas State Technical College.
Okay. Do you want to restate the schools that you're with? Would you like to invite anybody who's listening in to come to your schools? Just so while we're on the topic, your school again?
Stanley Community College in Albemarle, North Carolina.
Okay, and your school again?
Eastfield College out of Dallas County Community College
Okay,
District.
so anybody listening, we know there's great work being done through the foundation, but if you just want to do this on your own, be on an advisory board, help them focus their curriculum so that they can turn out people to help you, these are 3 guys who would take your call. So,
And or if you know schools in your own marketplace, reach out to those and try to work with them the way these 3 gentlemen have mentioned. So something else is going on in the industry. While you guys do a great job, some MSOs are taking training into their own hands. I don't know if you had read, but Service King, just to name one, has announced their program. And I think it's a 2-year program where they will develop, train people internally over in a number of areas. One, are you aware of that? Are you aware of any other large or small shops that have their own internal training programs? And what do you think of that? Is that good for the industry and good for those companies?
I think it's very good. Service King in our area just started it, and they came to me and they chose 3 of our graduates. They did ask for graduates, and what they're going to do in our area is put them through a 1-year program with Service King. I think that's very important because sometimes we're looked upon as, if the student spends 2 years with us, they expect them to come in and be a full-blown body man or a painter. And that's not the case because we're not teaching to every individual shop. Each shop has their own ways and methods of doing certain things, and it's important for the shop owners or the companies to come in and train their employees. Once we get them wet and show them a few skills where they can go in and become those apprentices that they need, I believe it's very important for the Service Kings or the other shops in the areas to take that individual and form them completely to how they want them.
And
Go ahead.
you'll be actively involved in assisting them, or will other schools in your market, for example, be part of that
Well,
program?
actually, Service King, they're taking it into their hands
Yeah.
once actually they're hiring the students.
Once they come out of your school?
Yes, once they graduate from our school, they take them. They interviewed 3 of our students, and I believe they picked them all 3 up, and now they're taking them as employees and they're putting them through
Their own training.
program,
Got it.
which is very important.
We have also talked with Service King and Caliber on that. Both of them have similar programs. They have to go through an interview process with both companies. They pick out of that interview process the ones that they're going to enter into that program. My understanding of both programs, it will be a self-paced program. So it could be a year to 2 years or less, depending on the student's skill set, coming from a technical school. Their hope is that it will take less time because they've already had 2 years of experience learning things. Now it's just a matter of teaching them their shop practices, not having to develop a complete skill set with a student. So I think that's going to be a good thing.
Good.
Yeah, we don't have that in our area. Service King's just getting wound up good in North Carolina.
Wound up good. Is that
Hopefully
a
we-
Southern phrase? Wound up good? I like
Be
it.
stealing that.
Yeah, I like it. Wound up good.
So, I guess this question should be coming from me. How are you doing on recruiting women into your programs? What percentage of your student population are female?
On our campus, student population females is probably 15%. In our program, it's probably more like 1 or 2%. The state's initiative or our college initiative is to get women into the programs, non-traditional programs. We typically are running 4 to 5 women in our program at all times. It's hard to get them in. Once we get them in, they tend to leave us into better positions. A lot of them go into estimating or detailed quality control type work more than they do into the body shop or body side or the paint side, which tends to work out very well for them. It's just hard to get them interested. It's a non-traditional field, and their friends tend to kind of pick on them or make fun of them because they're entering a non-traditional field.
Yeah, my number is low also. In 5 years, I've only had 1 female graduate, and I have another female starting this fall semester. So.
Our numbers are also low. One of the things that's unique to us in our area is we have a female instructor. Her name's Stephanie Dibble, and that's helped us a bunch within the last. She's been with us, I want to say about 5 years now, and we're graduating at least 2 female students per year. At least for the last 3 years in a row, we've graduated at least 2 per year, which is helping. But same thing, we're looking at the same thing. It's just I don't know. It's a tough field for women to get into, and I guess once again it goes back to the high school level because of what the nature of the job. But they can do it just as well as a male could do it. They're all the same.
Thank you for saying that. We know that. So yeah, but the block seems to be that it's still viewed as non-traditional,
Yes.
Yeah.
and the school counselors tend not to be directing young ladies
Correct.
into that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So those men of us who are highly evolved also support that, especially since I have 2 daughters.
And you are highly involved.
So we talked about trying to get students from high school. What about the military? You know, there are a couple programs going on around the United States now. I know that some of the MSOs target the military directly. Are you reaching into the military as they come off their tour of duty to see if there are interests?
We're about 70 miles from Fort Hood, so we have a lot of military on campus. The Veteran Service Office is in the same building that I'm housed in. We get a lot of ex-military that are coming into our program and on campus too, from Fort Hood, and then entering the workforce after us. It's a big part of our school.
Okay.
We also see lots of military in the Dallas area. Obviously, they're a lot closer to Fort Hood, but we do see tons of military come through. A lot of the guys that have served overseas come back, and a lot of them have the passion for automobiles in general, and that's how they locate us, being that their interests are in the automobiles, and they come in and very successful. Those are the students that actually, because of their discipline, they're in and they're focused.
And they're very successful at what
Yes.
they do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me think of a question. I understand the demographic of the military personnel versus high school graduates, very, very different in many instances. Looking again at high school students, what are the most important qualities or, attitudes that are going to create a successful student in your program?
Probably a student that comes in willing to learn, not believing that they know how to do it already. A lot of them oversell their abilities to themselves and to you, and when you get them into the shop or into the lab, they're unable to perform at the level that they see themselves performing at. You need a student that's open-minded, willing to take the ideas that you're giving and the procedures you're giving and then perform them. So that makes it a little difficult with the high school students.
Yeah, good work ethic, respectable. I like for them to show a little respect to everybody. It's getting harder to see in the younger generation. But if they're respectful, and I talk to the shop owners, I've actually had shop owners tell me that if you've got a good, respectful student coming in, good work ethics, they're there in class every day, they're there for class all day long, they like those kind of students. That's the ones they're looking for. They can shape them the way they want them.
Do your programs also teach job skills, punctuality, the things that you're talking,
Yeah.
Yes.
apart from the technical skills?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Fantastic.
actually installed a time clock, so our students can actually clock in and out for class.
Our students, we call roll after every break or at the beginning of the morning. They actually have our 10% attendance policy. They have to be there. Can miss no more than 10% of class. That's like one day out of the semester.
Wow, that's good.
So-
After
Yeah.
breaks, you're smart. Yeah.
Our students said once we hit the labs, the students that we have, they tend to stay all day. And they want to stay longer once we hit those labs. It's just one thing from the classroom to the lab, and sometimes the classroom is a little difficult for these this younger generation. But once we get into the labs, it's a different story. And to elaborate a little bit on the question that you asked, is the students are actually the ones that have lived life a little, the ones that have been out there and realized, there's a lot more to this than what I was told or than what I understood. And the ones that come back that have a little life under their belt, those are the ones that are ready to listen, and they're disciplined, and they're going to come in, and those are the ones that are getting picked up very quickly. Actually, a lot of our students, it's a good thing and a bad thing. They get picked up by about their second semester, the ones that are sharp. And the
What
bad
does that
part-
mean, picked up?
In other words, they're getting hired. They're being hired before they graduate. And sometimes it makes it difficult because in our area, and the ones that have lived life, the ones that have started their families or whatnot, they need that money, and sometimes they choose the work versus finishing the school. But we have seen, or I've seen, where they do come back within maybe 4 or 5 years later. They've realized, hey, I got to finish this. They have half the degree done. Let's go back and finish it. But it is tough. It's one of those things that's, that's what we're doing, is training them to become, to be successful in life, to make that money. And unfortunately, sometimes that money, they'd rather go for the money than finish their school. And at least that's been my experience there in the Dallas area.
We lose a few throughout doing things like that, but most of ours stick through, and then they've got multiple job offers on the table by the time they reach graduation, and it's just a matter of picking what area and what shop they'd like to work for.
So does the fact that you have that track record, you can't promise anybody anything, but you've got, when we're talking about job placement, you're able to say with a straight face, we have a higher rate from our graduates. Are you all able to say that with some
Yes.
confidence?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's great, because that to me would be a huge thing in terms of job placement.
So, Bill, you touched on a word that triggered a question that I was going to ask, and that is, what are the generational differences that you see today versus maybe what you saw years ago when you started in your training and education business? And what are the positive characteristics or aspects of that change you see versus maybe the negative? And how does that impact your training today and completion of the training?
Right. Well, when I started, like I said, in 1977, we were catching a lot of the Vietnam War veterans coming back. So at that time, we had a lot of older generation. I was one of the younger because I was straight out of high school. Most of them were out of the military that I was in class with. I'm not seeing a lot of that in my school today. Most of mine are coming from high school, but my age range is anywhere from 18 to about 45. My oldest student has been 80 years old.
Yeah, wow. But what are the differences you see in their desire to learn and their ability to learn and be committed versus what you might have seen in the past?
Well, the older generation, of course, they know what to look for. They know what to expect. The younger generation today is not the same young generation we had in the 70s and even early 80s.
Okay. That's what I wanted to hear. Where do you? Well, not that I wanted to hear that.
Us old codgers wanted to hear.
Yeah, no, I wanted to hear what that means, though. What is that difference? When you say that, what is the difference?
I think the difference is the older generation work was instilled maybe at home.
Yes.
They come in and said, we have to be on the job, on time, and ready to go 40 hours, 60 hours a week, whatever it takes, we're going to do it. The newer generation, I think, is more intel to the your electronics, your all the software. Now, and part of your question, or you had added, how does that help now? It's like the work skill it's there, but it's in a different sense. You put a computer in front of these guys, and we're maybe working on the car line, frame machines and whatnot. They get in there and they pick it up very fast. Versus the older generation, it's like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know. These guys are ready to go. You show them the software. Usually it takes one time, and they're running that program.
That's right.
I think the family dynamics has changed. The older generation, you had a two-parent household, mom and dad, and one of them was showing them how to operate stuff, how to take something apart, put it back together. Home repairs were done at the home by a family member. In today's generation, we have a lot of one-parent households, mom or dad, and they're not getting both sides of that. The parents are out working and not able to show the child how to do things at the house, what a screwdriver is, how to change a light bulb, how to change a faucet, fix a leak. So when the student gets to school, they know nothing. You're having to teach them what a screwdriver is, flat tip, regular, or Phillips, Torx, what sockets are, how a ratchet works. How to take something apart, how to put it back together, how to bag it, label it, so that you can put it back together the way it was. They didn't get that at home, so we're having to teach that. He is exactly right on the electronic side. You show a student how to work something electronic, they'll have an app pulled up on their cell phone, and instead of using your computer over there, they're underneath the car doing a front-end alignment, checking the specs on their cell phone that's Bluetooth to your computer. The older generation, they're still trying to figure out how to get past the home screen.
Yeah. So there are aspects of it that are this new generation. They're a little bit slower, but in other ways they're highly accelerated. It sounds like.
Correct.
Are you doing anything? Because we're talking about skill sets and we're talking about attitudes. So those are two different things. Either or both of them can be teachable or changeable, right? Are you doing anything where you're trying to kind of maybe create a mentor program so that these people who maybe what I hear is a lot of people, they'll take the program because one day they're going to be painting flames on cars. That's all they're thinking about. And yet most people in this industry are not painting flames on cars. Are you doing anything so that they have a really clear understanding of where they're going and creating mentorship relationships for them?
We group students together in groups to work on projects through school, and we will look at things like that. When we create their group to work on that car. But as far as having somebody from out in the industry to help mentor, we don't have that currently. So it's done by another set of students that would maybe have a different skill set than what that student did. And the instructors help mentor. I mean, they're there for questions, they're there late, they're there early to mentor that student in any way they can.
Yeah, I agree with Clint. That's the same way we are. And our instructors are the ones that do the mentoring.
I agree as well. I've been talking to a few people in the industry. Darren Huggins is in our area, in the Dallas area, and he has a mentorship program in the companies that he's overlooking. And I think it's very important, and it's very, very important who the mentor is that they're choosing, and Darren has realized that. In his shops, he puts the ones that the mentors that he chooses are the guys that actually can pass the knowledge on. Because not everyone has the patience for students, and sometimes those guys out there can either make them or break them. We can teach them for 2 years and put them out there, and if we have them with the wrong mentor, I've seen a lot of people get broken down and come back and say, "This is not for me. This guy is really hard on me." But
Well,
it's the right mentor.
They'll put them with somebody. They'll tell them, "Well, you need to forget everything you learned at school, throw it all away, because they taught you the book way. We're going to
Yes.
get you the real way." And Darren was real good about working with them, getting them with the right guy that expanded on their knowledge instead of degrade their knowledge or deteriorate their
Is
knowledge.
this while they're currently students or once they graduate?
Once they get into the workforce,
Okay, yeah.
and some of them start as students with them, and some are graduates.
And that's Van Tile Group, right?
Right.
Yeah,
And-
Darren Huggins,
well,
is with the Van Tile
It's
group.
no longer former Van Tile
Yeah.
Group.
Well, Berkshire.
Berkshire,
right, yes.
Yeah.
I've worked with Darren on a BSEP program when General Motors had it before, doing co-op programs. We currently don't have a co-op, so that's how I know Darren from doing that.
Yeah.
And he's requested many times that we start a co-op so he could work with them while they're in school.
Yeah, we like to make sure that people who are doing great things are appropriately acknowledged, so that's why we want to make sure to get his name fully. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about, so that's post-grad, and he's talking about while you're in school,
Correct.
which is very important to take you to the finish line, to say, yes, you are going in a great path, and also to reinforce probably when they're in those last few steps that your first few months, maybe your first year, is not going to be real glamorous.
Right.
It's not, but it's all part of the plan.
So we hear a lot about autonomous and semi-autonomous driving in vehicles in the future. Does that come into play when you're speaking to students? Is it a concern or fear that they have that maybe cars won't be in accidents, there won't be that many to be fixed, or is it too far out to have any impact on today's students?
I think it's always a fear, but they were running a deal on TV last night to where the cars were being hacked and taking over steering and
Yeah.
brakes, and then everybody has to have a car that has that feature. If there's still old cars on the road that don't have those features, there's still going to be accidents, and not all of us can afford the cars that have those features. So I think it's definitely a concern. Students see it, industry members see it as you go into industry and teach classes, but we're not to that point at this time.
Well, there's also still going to be deer on the road that run out in front of the vehicle, and there's going to be hailstorms, and there'll still be fender benders, and there'll be these young kids that'll disable that system so they can drive it themselves. So as long as there's vehicles, there's going to be accidents. As long as there's accidents, we'll have a job.
Yes, and as long as there's human beings around those vehicles,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
going to be accidents.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Is there any excitement about the new technology, and does that come into play to entice students to come into the industry, or do you use it today, or is it just a neutral item?
It's not a big issue. I mean, we touch on it, and they do get excited about it because, like Carlos said, they're into this technology era.
Yeah.
Do you have the cars to work on, whether they're hybrids or electric vehicles, so that they can actually get it, or are you assuming they're going to get it on the job when they're employed somewhere?
Yeah, we don't have it at our school.
It's the same thing in our sense, at our school. It just depends on what comes in for the semester. Sometimes we see them, and sometimes we don't see them. So that can be sometimes an issue where we don't have the latest vehicles there to work on. Part of it is because of cost, at least for us.
Yeah. But am I correct, you'll take any donated vehicles that have that technology in them?
Sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
we got to be careful what we do take, because we have to have a way to either use it or dispose of it when we're done
You're right.
tearing it up. So we got to be kind of careful on that. But we will take them. We get a lot of vehicle donations through different companies. that we build, and then we'll resell it as a repaired salvage. We also take in customer work and do customer work. We will not take an insurance job. But if somebody had liability and they can beef out their car, we'll take that and repair it. So our students are getting lots of hands-on practice on live work. And then we have an automotive program next door that owns 2 or 3 hybrids that we can borrow and at least show them how to disable the system or how things go together at that point also.
What we do with a local salvage yard, the salvage yard will actually bring a vehicle to us and let us use it for our live project. And then when we're done with it, they come pick it up and get it out of our way so we don't have vehicles sitting on the property. We have no cost involved in it. Students get live hands-on. It goes back to the salvage yard and it's crushed, so there's no liability issues.
We also have a automotive program that actually we're fortunate to have the Honda Pact and the Toyota T10 program there housed at Eastfield, and they're right next door. And they do have tons of vehicles, and they do let us borrow them to look at certain systems like that. So they're available, but sometimes we can't take one of their brand new cars and completely tear it apart like we want to. So we're limited.
Yeah. What about statistics? Statistics on students who come into your program versus the fallout rate versus the placement rate. Do you keep track of that? And tell us a little bit about that.
Graduates we track through actually a closed Facebook page for graduates. They are asked to join as soon as they graduate. That way we can keep up with where they're at. We can do job postings to them or from them on that page. The school does require us to track our graduates. We also have to track those that entered the program and didn't make it through a semester. Where they went, did they go to work somewhere? Did they just drop out, go to another school, join the military? We have to keep track of that every semester. So yes, we are doing that and watching where people go so that we can better ourselves.
Can you share any of those statistics, or do you have them off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head is really hard. We normally run about 125 students in our program at any given semester. Like this semester, about 16 of those will be graduates. This semester, we're sitting probably close to 50 students, 48 to 50 students for the summer semester. And we had probably about another 50 that took off for summer that are slowly registering back. So at the end of the summer, I know who didn't register back, and then we'll make contact with them to find out why.
And those 16, will they be placed?
Yes.
Most
of them have already got job offers on the table already.
Do you take it beyond that to find out how many people drop out of the industry?
No, ma'am. I do not.
Those are also things that we're working on. Our numbers are similar to Clint's. One of the things that, besides Facebook, we're also looking at the LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Once they graduate and get out into the workforce and build their families and start making money, sometimes they make lots of money, and we lose them to that, and the communication's not quite there. Us as instructors, especially like my experience also, I know who they are, and I have a cell phone with about 600 phone numbers in it, and a lot of them are my former students. When I go out to the shops, I recognize them, they recognize me, we connect, but we have to, I'm trying to figure out a way on how to keep us connected, keep, what's the term I'm looking for, I just blanked out, the networking. The networking is quite not there, and that's one of the things that our program is looking at, is trying to keep track of all that stuff.
Most of my instructors are also ICAR instructors, so as we go out to the industry and teach classes, a lot of the classes you teach, former students are coming in, hey, they're asking you who's still there instructor-wise, if you have any students, and then you can find out where they're at, how they're doing, what kind of money they're making, all at those classes. So that's a wonderful way of keeping up, another way of keeping up with the graduates.
Well, I think you'll find all the instructors have a personal side with their students that they stay in contact after they've graduated.
So if we could grant you one wish for your respective programs, that would, you think it would make it even more successful than they are now, what would it be?
I think a wish I would have would be for shops to help us develop a career path from entry level position up through the ranks in their business. Okay, you enter here. If you want to move up to a body man from a helper, here's the steps you need to go through to get there, skill wise. Not worried about time wise, mainly skill. You know, is it ICAR classes you need to attend, or pro levels, or is somebody going to check you off that you can quality of dent repair or frame repair is this in order to move up in position? Would be a great help. It'd be a great recruiting tool to go to the schools with. You know, if you go through our program, you're going to enter here, and this is how quickly you can move through to get students into our field, into our program, and out into the field.
So that gets back to your wish that you'd have somebody donate an hour or two a month to be on your advisory board.
Correct.
Right. Okay. How about you?
Well, we've got good support with the industry in our community. They do serve on my advisory board, and they do hire my students. I guess my wish would be more to work closer with the high schools, get the high schools, the community to participate more in our program, to support us more, send us more students. That's the big one for me.
On my end, I think our industry, maybe choosing the right mentors out there, putting together a team of mentors for every company that's out there. So when they take our students, they take that product and they shape them to how they want them. But we have to pick out and we have to choose the right mentor, the mentor that is able to have the patience to get across what they want to get across to the students. Mm-hmm. And I think that's very, very important.
And you know, that you're mentioning too is that, you know, a lot of times within these companies, it may be high-level people, you know, maybe an owner or a manager, and they're going to come out and, you know, tell the story about their business. But really what we're talking about is the people that are doing the work. They're the painters and the technicians who
Yes.
might otherwise not be in that kind of glory position, where you really need to make that connection between those people and the students. They may be people who don't want to get up in front of a classroom, but may be great one-on-one to talk about where they love painting.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, do you in fact take them to shops, the students, to talk to technicians or
Yes.
painters?
Yes.
That is part of your program?
As time allows, we do. Most of it is done in-house. Somebody will come to us. We don't. Seldom do we get out. We get out a few times, but not a lot.
You know, the foundation in our area has actually put together a few
Career days, expos.
Service King held the last one, and the one before that was Caliber, and then also in our area, Darren Huggins and the former Van Tile was hosting them, and that's worked wonderfully because they bring in a lot of people. When they put those things together, actually a lot of our students get picked up from that, so that's a great help.
Great. Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Any closing comments?
Yeah,
from you
any
as we wrap it up?
Well, the only thing I'll say is in our county, we only have about 60,000 for the population. That was in 2010. 2014, they're only projecting 61,500 being the final census for our county. So we don't have a lot of people in our county. For the town, the Albemarle town itself, we have 16,000 for a population. So a lot of our area is farmland. So it's tough sometimes getting students just because of that.
But it also suggests an opportunity for a repairer still to help you come out, maybe a little bit more. They may have to drive a little bit further than
Yes.
your cohort from Texas, but I think a lot of times it is that encouragement and mentorship and the excitement around it that gets people wanting to pursue this path. So.
Yeah. So we'd like to thank you, Clint,
Thank you.
Billy, and Carlos, for illuminating and helping our audience understand some of the challenges you have, some of the areas of support that you could use. And we wish you luck in getting the students that are drastically needed throughout our industry.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you guys. I would like to thank Clark Lisinski and the foundation for what they do for the schools, and especially
Yes.
in our areas.
Yes.
They're wonderful.
Yes,
Excellent.
they are.
Thanks
you,
for
guys.
saying that.
And we'll end this with, as we always do, by thanking our sponsors, our platinum sponsors, Allstate, Exalta, Enterprise, and PPG, our gold sponsors, LKQ and Mitchell, and our silver sponsors, CEI, Syncast, Finish Master, Focus Investment Banking, Boyd Gerber, Service King, and Verifax. And once again, thanks to our participants. See you at the next crew.